Shetland, Britain's most northerly outpost. Through the ages, the sea has cracked and gnawed the bare bones of these islands, gouging a wild and rugged coastline. With the first stirrings of spring, the cliffs exert a magnetic attraction. Answering the call, they come from the four corners of the wild grey Atlantic. Seabirds returning to their ancestral cliffs to breed. And amongst this gathering throng are some very special birds. Shunning land, the puffins have wintered far out on the open ocean. Only the most vicious storms forced them within sight of land. But now they have returned. At first they seem nervous of landing. The hard, unmoving rocks are alien to them. Finding security in the presence of other birds, they begin to gather in small groups on the very edge of the cliff. Just offshore, they bob around in great rafts, inspecting the land from the familiar safety of the sea. With growing confidence, they begin to move away from the cliff edge up onto the slopes, exploring last year's burrows. The puffin's burrow is usually about 1 metre long, the nest itself being a slight hollow at the innermost end. Through the years, a honeycomb of interconnecting tunnels may be formed underground. Puffins usually breed with the same mate year after year. Already, the birds have started to reform pair bonds. During the winter, they go their separate ways. Now, both return to the same burrow they nested in last year. Only if one of the pair has died during the winter will the surviving bird take a new mate. To reaffirm and strengthen the pair bond, the birds indulge in a bout of billing. The colourful beak is largely an organ of display, only assumed during the summer when the brightly coloured horny plates grow over the small black winter beak. These plates simply fall off when the breeding season is over. Puffins have an insatiable curiosity, and a billing pair often attract an audience. An aggressive gape display warns the spectator it is not welcome. But this intruder's interest is more than just idle curiosity. Burrows are at a premium, and he is trying to muscle in on someone else's. With interlocked beaks, they wrestle using twisting head movements. Outstretched wings aid balance, while the feet claw upwards like grappling irons. Surprisingly, beyond a bloody beak, they're rarely hurt in such battles. The rightful owners of the burrow invariably manage to beat off even the most determined challenger. Some burrows do not survive the rigours of winter unscathed. Shallow ones may be caved in by grazing sheep or heavy rain. This pair have lost theirs in a small landslide and must start all over again. The heavy beak is used to loosen the earth, which is then shovelled with the feet. If they're digging in damp soil, it can be a rather messy business. Some puffins, especially those nesting in very damp or stony ground, will collect material to line the nest chamber. When the mood takes them, they go at it with a vengeance. Anything of a suitable size lying around the colony will be picked up. Some birds, however, tend to be a little overambitious. These cliffs are notoriously wild, and the coming of spring has done little to tame them. The storm has blown unhindered across 3,000 miles of open ocean. Screaming around the cliffs, it batters itself to death on the unyielding rocks of Hermanus. Able to survive the worst Atlantic gales, gannets are masterful flyers. But returning with nesting material, even they find the turbulent, unpredictable air currents near the cliff hard to maneuver in. With their stubby little wings, puffins seem to enjoy the vicious updrafts. Hermanus is breeding ground for a ruthlessly efficient predator and pirate, the great skua. Already they are establishing nesting territories, but this bird is hunting. Diving to scare the puffins into flight, the skua watches for any sign of vulnerability. Instinctively, they form a wheeling, tightly packed flock. The skua finds it hard to single out a victim from this swirling mass. The puffin narrowly escapes, crash diving to safety. But this skua is hungry and tenacious. As the excitement dies down, the puffins drift back onto the slopes. After its gory meal, the skua washes that formidable beak in a moorland pool. Below ground in the nest chamber, laying has begun. The adults incubate the single egg in turn. Each shift often lasts more than a day. Now the colony is relatively peaceful. During the incubation period, many birds are below ground, while partners spend much of their off-duty period at sea. As the long northern evening draws to a close, puffins begin to drift away from the cliffs. Only birds incubating underground stay overnight. The rest leave to roost on the sea. It is early June, and a forest of kelp is exposed by a low summer tide. This wild and lonely coast is hunting ground for one of Britain's most elusive mammals, the otter. Offshore, a sand eel shoal has been located and puffins gather to feed. Although a superb fisherman, the otter captures most of its prey in shallow water near the shore. These two bitches have adjoining territories and enjoy a rough and tumble when they meet. Few animals have such zest for living. Eventually, even an otter grows tired of play. Peaceful on the surface, it's a different story below. Underwater, puffins are in their element, soaring and gliding through the water with a grace they cannot hope to match in the air. Their wings are a compromise. They must be large enough to keep them airborne, while being small enough to propel them through the much denser medium of water. Now, instead of swallowing their prey, they head for the cliffs, for hatching has begun and there are hungry chicks to feed. As they near the cliff, a new danger is lurking. With flight full of menace, an Arctic skua waits in ambush. Piracy is a way of life to this bird. Suddenly it accelerates. The aim is to panic the victim into dropping its load of fish. Most birds get through unscathed. The Arctic skua's success rate at Hermanus is low. Only 1% of fish-carrying puffins lose their catch to them. One of the highlights of summer on a seabird cliff is the first puffin carrying fish ashore. With a beak full of its favourite prey, sand eels, the puffin wastes little time in getting down its burrow. Puffins seem to be happiest when nesting close together. Within the colony, birds in higher density areas will hatch chicks earlier and rear them more successfully. Now every day sees more puffins carrying fish ashore. Deep below ground, the nesting chamber is a secure nursery, so after a few days of brooding, the chick in warm, soft down is left on its own while both parents are at sea fishing. Adults make only brief visits with food, often simply dropping the fish in the burrow and then returning to sea. Hearing the adult land, the chick moves towards the burrow entrance. Young puffins fed on oil-rich fish grow best. Sand eels and sprats have a high energy content, so if they're available, the adults will catch them for the chick in preference to other species. After a winter of wandering, the Arctic skua has returned to its moorland breeding ground. In a crude scrape amongst the heather, the female covers her hatching eggs. Only a few hours old, and this chick is already exploring. It will soon leave the nest altogether. Nearby, the male stands guard. A great skua is an unwelcome intruder. The two skuas often nest close together, but are always uneasy neighbours. Like a feathered Viking, the great skua returns to its nesting territory, loaded down with booty from a raid. As it regurgitates a stolen fish, the tenderness shown to its own chick is hard to reconcile with its usually violent nature. Smell, bustle and noise. Like some great city, the cliffs are humming with energy and activity. The Guillemot ledges are the cliffs' crowded slums. These chicks will soon leave the ledges, leaping to join their parents on the sea below. In the scree at the base of the cliff, puffins mingle with razorbills, which also nest in holes and cracks amongst the jumbled rocks. July. On the evening cliffs, many adults rest after a day of commuting between fishing grounds and nesting burrow. As the season progresses, increasing numbers of immature birds appear on the cliffs. They have stayed at sea, but now they come to practice their social skills and to establish a claim on a burrow of their own, even though most of them won't breed until 5 years old. From the pages of a folk tale steps an almost mythological creature. A white puffin. White puffins figured in the legends of many of the isolated island communities which depended on seabirds. Some were said to be of great age and wisdom. He is a very rare bird and seems to know it. It is the time of the simmer dim, when sunset and sunrise are separated by just a few hours of half-light. The Muckle lighthouse winks out its warning light. Already the brief northern summer is waning. The time has come for this chick to desert the safety of his burrow and make for the sea, his true home. From now on, he is on his own. The half-light cloaks his clumsy progress from predatory skuas and gulls. At last he reaches the very edge of the cliff and pauses before the abyss. Before daylight returns, he must be far away from land and its dangers. For the next 2 years, he will wander the trackless Atlantic. The shimmering sea calls to him with a voice that must be answered. After a moment's hesitation, he takes that final leap into the dark.